The top 15 teams in the country, rankings updated today. We're going to break it down 15 on 15. Hank, put my timer on, put the clock on, and let's get to business. Starting at number one, we got the Houston Cougars. Now, this right here is interesting because Houston went from number two last week, they were number two, and they actually jumped Purdue, which is a very interesting thing and something you really don't see too much, especially when the number one team in the country, the Purdue Boilermakers, they haven't lost yet. So I think that it's extremely interesting when Houston in this past week, I'm looking at it right now, they only have wins over Lehigh, which was 75 to 57. They have wins over Towson, which was 65 to 48. But they didn't really play anybody. So why are they moving up to number one? I love that for Kelvin Sampson and his team, but why in the world are they moving to number one? I don't understand how they made that jump, how they made that decision. But nonetheless, I don't have a vote. I'm just here to talking to you about it. So let's move to number two, because right now I'm on time. The Purdue Boilermakers, who dropped down from number one to number two. And I think this is interesting because once again, they didn't lose. They won. They beat Evansville. They beat Oakland. They deserve to still be number one. Do I think they're the number one team in the country? I do not. However, they haven't done anything to not still have that spot. So for them to move to number two is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. I will say though, this game this week against number 8 Alabama, who we will talk about in I can't do the math real quickly, but in some minutes from now. But the number 8 team, Alabama, the way that they played, who we will get to later in the show because I love their backcourt, this will be a massive test because what Alabama did to St. John's and Madison Square Garden, Braden Smith better be ready. Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, CJ Cox, they better be ready because those guards of Alabama are nothing to play with. So they will get tested, but I don't know why they dropped from number one to number two. Not my business, though. Number 3 team in the country right now, the UConn Huskies. Last week, they were number 4 in the country. They beat New Haven, which was a good win. They smacked the mess out of UMass Lowell. What in the world? Almost, they actually did double their score. And then they're playing Columbia right now, which is going on, and they are winning currently. This UConn Huskies team is once again deep and dangerous. And they don't even have Braylon Mullins. I think when Braylon Mullins comes back, I think he's supposed to be out for another month. When this young man comes back, the backcourt with Solo Ball, with him, I mean, this team is going to be absolutely terrific. We talk about veteran leadership. They have that in Solo Ball. They have Alex Caravan, who has been there for forever, it feels like. But that veteran leadership is something that is invaluable. So the fact that they have that and you mix that with Danny Hurley is going to be very, very good for them. This week they play AJ DeBansta in BYU, who we will talk about later on. But that will be a very, very good test. All right, let's go to number 4. Number 4, the Duke Blue Devils. They had a big win against Texas. I was really impressed with this win because in the first half, it was kind of shaky. And then everybody saw that video of Cameron Boozer and how he was at halftime and how motivated and how inspirational he was and how much leadership he displayed. And I thought that was terrific. But what I really thought was more terrific was not only did he talk about it, he was actually about it. He displayed whatever he was talking about. We got on the floor and he dominated in the second half. In the first half, he almost was pressing a little too hard. But in the second half, the game came to him. It flowed, and he looked terrific. He looked great. And this Duke team is dangerous. I mean, you look at him, and you look at what Isaiah Evans can do from beyond the arc, arguably one of the best shooters in all of the country. They absolutely dismantled the Texas Longhorns, and don't tell anybody, but Hank was very disappointed with that because he went to Texas. But nonetheless, number 5, Arizona Wildcats, and I think this is who made the biggest jump. And they are off to a terrific start. The game against Florida was so impressive for a myriad of reasons. We look at this freshman they have in Koa Peat, who we will talk about later on in the show. But when you talk about a loaded class of freshmen, you talk about the big three, the Boozer, Peterson, you have to mention Koa Peat in that category because what he did against arguably one of the best front courts in the country, if not the best front court, extremely impressive. And we talked about it on last week's show, but Koa Peat, I mean, you just can't say enough about him. His poise, his physicality, his athleticism, what he means for Tommy Lloyd is going to be on display all year. They have a good, really big test against number 15 UCLA. That'll be interesting. Let's move on to number 6. Michigan Wolverines. Last week they were number 7. They jumped up one spot. They had a win against Oakland, which they absolutely dominated. Big Yaks, one of my favorite dudes on this on all of college basketball, and somebody who I will talk about a lot on this show. He was he was okay. He wasn't great, but he was okay. He was battling injury, still coming back. So we'll see how that plays out. They have a game this week on the 11th, which today is the 10th. So tomorrow they play Wake Forest. That'll be a good test, not a great test. And they play TCU on Friday. And TCU was very mediocre this year. We saw that they got upset against New Orleans, but it is on the road. So it will be, I don't think it'll be a great environment because TCU is not a place known to get lit. But I think if TCU has the crowd around them, they have the number 6 team coming in to their arena, I do think they'll have a good turnout, and it could be a good challenge for Dusty May and the Wolverines. Let's move on to number 7. We got the BYU Cougars. Kevin Young. They have a really, really good test. I mean, they beat Villanova last week, which was an impressive game. But this week they played number 3 UConn. You're going to learn a lot about your team if you are Kevin Young. You are going to learn a lot about AJ DeBansta if you are Kevin Young. You are going to learn a lot about Richie Saunders. You're going to learn a lot about your team and to see how good they really are, because this will be the biggest test that you've played. You played North Carolina in the preseason, but you played them in Salt Lake City, which is about 45, 50 minutes from Provo. So that was technically a home game, and you escaped right there. However, this game, there's no running from it. I don't actually know 100% where the game is being played, but this will be one of the toughest tests that they play. Can you contain solo ball? Can Alex Caravan really stay in front of AJ DeBansta? To be determined. I can't wait for that. We'll talk about that later in the game previews. All right, next, number 8, Alabama Crimson Tide. Number 15 last week, number 8 this week. They jumped up 7 spots, and oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Aiden Holloway, LeBaron Phylon, I promise you, you're going to need more than just one defender to stay in front of these young men. We're going to dissect this and break this down later on in the show. But I was so impressed to go into Madison Square Garden, to go on the road, to be facing Rick Pitino, and to do what these two guards did, to be able to pick them apart the way that they picked them apart and did whatever they wanted to do whenever they wanted to do it. That was impressive. I can't even lie. I was impressed. I am a believer. I knew Aiden Holloway could play. I knew Phylon could play, but I didn't know they could play like that. They just took turns on that St. John's team. And look, if you're not careful, Purdue, Illinois, who they played this week, this is going to be a huge test. Number 2, Purdue, number 14, Illinois. If you aren't careful, they will get popped. All right, let's go. Next, number 9. I'm kind of on time. Number 9, Kentucky. They have a massive rivalry game. Listen, if you don't know how deep this rivalry is, this has to be a top 5 rivalry in all college basketball. Louisville, Kentucky. They hate each other's guts. They can't stand each other. Both programs are extremely successful. They're relatively close to one another. That right there, I'd put that. So Duke, North Carolina is on a tier of its own. I would probably put Louisville, Kentucky right underneath that. Like I said, it's definitely maybe top 3 and probably not 3. So I'd put that up there with the best of them. This right here is must-see TV. Louisville has to show me something after the way that they played against Kansas. After the way they played against Kansas in the exhibition game. This will be their first test since then because they played nobody last week. So we'll see how they hold up. All right, number 10, Florida Gators. Last week, they were number 3 in the country. They dropped to number 10. They dropped 7 spots. And last week, they lost. It was to a good team, so you really can't say much. And they beat Northern Florida, which they're supposed to. They play Florida State. They play Miami this week. This will be interesting. But here's my question. Here's Hank's question, because I can answer this question easily. Hank's question is, are there 9 teams in the country better than Florida? I mean, honestly, that's to be determined. And the reason why I say that is because when we look at camaraderie, I know Boogie Fland is good. I know Xavier Lee is good. We know the front court can do what the front court does. However, Xavier Lee, Boogie Fland have to get on the same page. And last week, it just didn't look as if these two young men were on the same page. When they finally figure it out, they're going to be dangerous. So until they figure it out, I'm going to say yes, there are 9 teams better than them. Let's go to number 11, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. This is a team who last week didn't really play anybody. They played Lindenwood, won. They played Sam Houston, won. I will say Christian Anderson against Lindenwood. I think he had like 31 and 11 assists. I told y'all last week, I gave y'all a warning. I gave you a precursor about this man, Christian Anderson. I told y'all that this young man is out for a breakout year. I told y'all he took a jump, he took a step in the right direction as far as being able to be a leader, being able to facilitate, and not just be a scorer. This young man right here is going to be a lottery pick. Maybe not a lottery pick, but a first round draft pick for sure. He is going to be special. He's going to have big numbers. He can not only just score, but he can facilitate. And when you talk about JT Toppin and his opening debut, 31 and 14, those two, that duo right there, arguably one of the best in the country. Let's keep it rolling. Number 12, the Louisville Cardinals. They actually dropped also despite winning both games. They beat South Carolina State. They beat Jackson State, and they actually dropped one spot, which is very interesting. But they're going to have a really tough task. One of the toughest tasks, probably the toughest task they've seen so far. I mean, the way that they played against Kansas, who we learned last week that it's Darren Peterson and friends, but we will get into that a little bit later. But this Kentucky team is the deepest team in the country, arguably. So if Kansas did to you at home what they did to you, imagine what Kentucky is going to do. You need to find some answers. You need to find them quickly. You need Michael Brown to step up and actually have a great game. Conwell and Michael Brown have to score at least 40 points combined. I don't care how it goes, but they'd score at least 40 points in order for them to win this ball game. Let's keep it rolling because I am on time and I love it. St. John's. Last week they were number 5. This week they are number 13. They dropped 8. This week's biggest faller. The loss against Alabama, I think it was good for them this early because it taught them a lot about their team. You need to play defense. You need to guard guards. You can't allow your players to be on islands with guards as good as LeBaron Phylon and as good as Aiden Holloway. So if you play anybody that is that good, you need to shrink the floor, get in gaps, and not allow clear pathways to the rim. Because the way that those two young men were doing these guys, whew, I know Rick Pitino was livid after the game, was absolutely livid because I, as well as a lot of America, became a fan of those two young men that game because they looked terrific. St. John's did not. You better fix it, especially this upcoming week. Not maybe not this week, but next week they have some tough tasks. Let's go. Number 14, Illinois. Not Illinois, but Illinois. I had to learn that. This will be a very interesting team because I actually love their style of play. You talk about this foreign brand of basketball coming over to America. I actually really love this. They have so much talent on the floor. They have so much skill, so much high IQ basketball at all times. I think that their style is different than what we're accustomed to seeing because we play basketball in America so much that we're used to seeing guys be uber athletic. We're used to seeing 4 men who look like me, who are super jacked and look like linebackers, right? We're used to seeing a brand of basketball as being Americans. So when you have multiple foreigners on the floor at the same time, you can play honestly a beautiful style of basketball. And that's what Illinois is doing right now. And they have some dudes who honestly have a chance to be able to be a draft pick. But I really like this Illinois team. They will be tested because they play Texas Tech and Alabama this week. They're in for a long week. Let's go. Last team, but not least, number 15, the UCLA Bruins. The number 15 this week, number 12 last week. They dropped 3 spots. They have a tough task, a West Coast showdown with Arizona. How do you guard Koa Peat? I love this matchup, though, with Jaden Bradley, Donovan Dent. 2 of the best premier guards in the country. They will guard each other the whole time. They will go after one another. Whoever plays the best wins that game and leads their team to victory. That's been 15 on 15. I'm a little bit ahead of schedule. I know Hank loves that because usually the new word that he just learned last week, CPT, right? I'm usually on that, but not this week. Hank, appreciate you for the clock. Appreciate you holding it down, my man.
That was well done. I also love the I love you calling yourself super jacked. We need more of that. We need the self promotion on here.
Listen,
Um,
I'm trying to lose some weight, my man. But
no, no
for right
need,
now,
dude. You are super
I
jacked.
look like
Yeah,
a
this is
linebacker.
if you're a podcast listener, get on the YouTube and see what we're talking about. All right, come on, come check it out.
But people tell me I like Micah Parsons. I don't love that because he's too big. I'm not trying to be that big. I was a hooper. I wasn't a football player. You know that's my number one pet peeve, Hank. I hate when people ask me, "Hey, you played college football?" No, I did not. I did not. I put the ball in the hole and played basketball. I was not running to go tackle humans. I didn't do that. I hate that,
Have
Hank.
Have you played basketball against college football players?
Yes, and I almost got hurt every single time.
What's the difference between like a football player's hoop game and then a real hooper?
They're just uber aggressive. I mean, they play extremely hard because I feel like anytime a football player wants to go play basketball against dudes who actually play basketball, I feel like in their head they have to prove themselves. So they play uber hard. I mean, they play extra hard, almost to the point to where you're like, "Hey, bro, listen, relax, chill. It ain't that serious, bro. We both just want to get some good cardio in and keep it moving." However, they play extra aggressive and that's not my cup of tea, especially not at the age of 29. I'm not trying to do that anymore. You can have that. I'm not proving myself to anybody. So yeah.
All right, so now anybody out there who finds himself in a game against King McClure, you know how to get to his head. But these are the extra nuggets you get if you stick around for the end of the 15 on 15. You want to move on to the next segment now?
Let's go. Let's go on to the next segment.
Cool.